can look no further than writing in the Australian Public Service, with some notable exceptions, or in the Australian Defence Force, with no notable exceptions whatsoever. This is not to say that the writing style within these institutions is not crisp and informative, focusing always on information rather than emotion. But what I had in mind was to pour out onto the page all the thrills and spills of what had been an exciting life. So I wrote a memoir, my story, and I love doing it. I didn't think about it so much then, but I suppose it was a sort of bucket list moment. I reckon I succeeded in avoiding the writing style trained into me by all those years in uniform, but swanning around inside our marvellous language English is a very seductive pastime. When I combined that with some of those not-for-lunch pastimes, in the intervening 15 years, the urge to write again was irresistible. My thoughts went from, someone ought to write about that, to, I'm going to write about that. There was a lot to write about because my retirement kept being postponed by opportunities, by events, and by duties. The one thing that uplifts me when I consider those initial intentions is that I have managed to be a much more dutiful dad and now granddad. I've always been a dutiful husband. And I might add, an observer might note that I don't appear to have missed too many lunches. So this is the story of a boy from Paddo who achieved the highest office in the land and who would not have swapped any moment of his life in getting there, even taking into account sad times and bad times. I could say here that I promise not to write another memoir. But maybe I can't be trusted, because I thought that was the case with the previous one. It would have been reasonable for you to ask, having paid your money, why did he write this book? Or, much less kindly, why did he bother? Here are some nots. This book is not written to correct the record, not to reveal fascinating facts previously unknown, not to convey insights thrilling in their expression and persuasion. All along throughout my public life, I have been and remain a very ordinary person who has been blessed with the best of good fortune. I've had opportunities and experiences that have thrilled and once or twice daunted me. I hope you've never noticed the latter. I stand as an example that the jobs I have done aren't just for those of the most marvellous capacity, although indeed many of my predecessors and successors have been and are incredibly gifted. I believe I have shown that an ordinary person can undertake these tasks effectively and hopefully without losing their way. Many biographers or writers of political history are avid diarists. No conversation goes unnoted, no key event unrecorded. These accounts can be fascinating and persuasive. I am not, and never have been, a diarist. The litany of my military postings, the elephantine memory of my wife and family, and the military's obsessive record-keeping have kept me on the straight and narrow for dates, sequences of events, and even the identity of the key players. Thank heavens. But my take on events, how a matter played out from my perspective, comes from the clearest possible memories flowing straight to the page. The same applies to my time as Governor-General. As I sit here, I stare at a huge bound A4 volume of my daily program from when I started on 28th of March 2014 until my final gasp of viceregal air on the morning of the 1st of July 2019. For that, my profound thanks go to Paul Singer, Official Secretary of the Governor-General, who assembled and vetted every page of that compilation, every meeting, every person, every town in Australia, every city and nation overseas. They're all there. I just kept turning the page until I found it. Some of my predecessors as Governor-General have written books after leaving the post. I'm sure they too regarded the task as a tricky business, and definitely not one for a blow-by-blow account. So if you see this book as a form of travelogue with some sermonising interspersed, you're not far wrong. I really thought that my